which NFL player would you want to be your bodyguard? I guess either physically or verbally if need be. Peter King gets the first pick, then Sims, then me, and I will be sure to crap on Chris's pick, and then he won't be able to react to that until after Peter picks, and it will frustrate Chris, so I love these three-man drafts. Peter, you're up.
I'm taking Richie Incognito because, I mean, I think I join all of America in saying I'm actually afraid of Richie Incognito. And so if I'm the quarterback or if I'm anything on the Oakland Raiders, I am looking over at Richie Incognito and thinking, thank God we got a Lyle Alzado, a latter-day Lyle Alzado on this team who is going to be there at the front of every line if anybody touches my quarterback. And if I'm Derek Carr, I say, give me 5 Incognitos.
Wow, I just can't believe I didn't think you were smart enough to pick him, really. I can't believe it.
Wow.
I thought I was going to have the crown jewel. I thought I was going to have the crown jewel with that first pick right there. I mean, I'm with you. I hear you. He's a psycho. I mean, didn't he beat the crap out of his own Ferrari or Lamborghini once? Plus, he works for the CIA, doesn't he? Didn't he tell the guy in the gym that? And they'll throw weights at you. So that was a very good pick.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, I'm staying on the same offensive line because my first pick would be Trent Brown. Now that you took Richie Incognito, I'm going with Trent Brown. He's the largest human in the NFL. There will never be anybody to attack me or do anything if he's my bodyguard. They're not even going to say a word. They're just going to look at him and go, is that a cloud? Oh, no, that's Trent Brown at 6'8", 380 pounds. I mean, he is the largest human being in football. He could, beat the crap out of all 3 of us with one arm and then take on a whole nother flock of people with other arms. So Trent Brown is my first pick.
Yes, I agree with both of you, but it's deja vu all over again because it's last Wednesday. It's Danielle Hunter. I want Danielle Hunter to be my bodyguard, just like we went through this conversation last week about Danielle Hunter being overlooked and Chris went into the whole Danielle thing. Hey, look, Danielle is the name. Get it right. And if somebody who's given me a hard time accidentally says Danielle Hunter's name incorrectly, I'm off the hook. It's between Danielle Hunter and whoever was messing with me. So for that reason, on top of the fact that the man is a giant, that the man is a badass, that the man will take care of you if he needs to, I want Danielle Hunter in my corner.
I'm going to take the smallest guy of the 9 that we picked today, and I'll explain why I'm taking Tyrann Mathieu as my second pick. Because he walked into the team that ended up winning the Super Bowl. He walked into this team, and immediately he became the big man on campus. And I remember, it might have been September, October, whatever, but talking to Andy Reid, he said to me one day, he goes, you cannot believe Tyrann Mathieu and the hold that he's gotten on the defensive players on this team. And then covering them a lot in the postseason. I mean, guys, Patrick Mahomes is looking up to Tyrann Mathieu. And so to me, that's the kind of guy I want. And did you see him during the Super Bowl when things weren't going great? Tyrann Mathieu was pulling like a Tom Brady on the sidelines. And you could see all these guys on the sidelines of the Kansas City Chiefs are, okay, all right. So to me, I don't think it has to be somebody who weighs 360 pounds. I don't think it has to be a guy who can physically beat you up. Tyrann Mathieu is going to be the kind of street fighter who not only physically is tough, but mentally is really a tough human being.
Yeah, that's a good one. Nice creative pick by you. You're right. I wouldn't want to mess with him. You're right. He's going to be able to street fight. He can use his brains. He's tough as hell. Who knows? A guy like him, he might know jujitsu too and put you in some crazy headlock. You never know. So I like that pick. That was a good one. I'm going to go with Khalil Mack of the Chicago Bears. That's my next guy. I mean, you guys, again, I like what Peter said. It's not about the biggest guy. always. I do like big people, and Khalil Mack is big compared to the average human being, but it's the way he's built. And I know you guys have seen him in person before. I mean, he is just the ultimate powerhouse, let alone he could take on the Trent Browns of the world and the other big offensive linemen with like one arm and just throw them around and do crazy crap like that. But you want to talk about legs and butt? Man, Khalil Mack, he'll throw you off them. His arms, his neck, his shoulders. I mean, pound for pound to what I see on the field, like on a weekly basis, he looks like he's one of the strongest guys in football. And then when you see him in person, I think you have a similar thought too. I mean, he's one of those guys that, I say this a lot. Like, I don't think you could stick a knife on him. You stuck a knife in him, I think the knife would bend before it would actually, penetrate muscle in Khalil Mack.
This is amazing to me because I've got some creative options that we could really have some fun with, and maybe I'll save some of them for that little after we finish the draft names we throw out there. How in the hell have none of us mentioned Aaron Donald yet, for crying out loud? Speaking of knives, a guy who trains with knives. They may not be real, but it's a great effect. No one is going to mess with you if Aaron Donald has your back. Are you kidding me? Of all the guys in the NFL, I mean, some of these other guys, they may be wired a little bit too tightly, and they may be willing to go out and do some things that the normal person won't do. But Aaron Donald, I mean, if something's going down, I want Aaron Donald to be the one to protect me because he will. And there is nobody who is going to get by him. There is nobody that's going to stop him. There is nobody that's going to derail him. And there's nobody who's going to hurt me when Aaron Donald is around. I'm amazed he's lasted this long. Give me Aaron Donald, please.
Peter, the next. Third pick, I had to pick between brothers, okay? And I had to pick between Mike Pouncey and Marquise Pouncey. And it was a tough call. And I'm going to take Marquise Pouncey because when I look at the head coach of that team and I look at Mike Tomlin, who is as tough a guy who roams an NFL sidelines, and his ambassador on the field right now, his guy who he sends out there to make sure that there's going to be order on the field, that's Marquise Pouncey. And I have a feeling that if there were no striped shirts on the field last year, that there's a good chance that Marquise Pouncey would have done something to Myles Garrett, would have taken the proverbial law into his own hands, and it would not have been pretty. But again, I would have taken Mike Pouncey either because he is one of those alpha dog kind of guys who is going to make sure at the end of every game that you have been, if not physically dominated, you have had a take no prisoners game with Mike Pouncey.
Yeah, I hear that. You're right. And, not to lie, I kind of thought about taking Myles Garrett because of that similar situation there, right? I mean, at least we've seen that, but I'm not going to do that because I don't like what he did that day. So I'm not going to give it any credit, even though I just gave it a little credit. I'm going with Quentin Nelson. Okay, Quentin Nelson. I mean, you guys, you watch a guy, he's just a huge human block. He's like a cinder block with arms and legs. And again, then he's got like a smaller cinder block for a head. I mean, that's really what he is. He'd be one of those guys, and I've been around Quentin Nelson a lot of times. First of all, he's like that scary silent type, right? And that, to me, scares the hell out of me and scares guys in a locker room, too, because you never know. He's got, the scary silent type with a little twinkle in his eye, and you're like, I'm not messing with that guy in the locker room. I feel like if I play with him, he's going to get enjoyment out of punishing me into the ground and torturing me and release some evil type laugh. So that's where I love Quentin Nelson, let alone he's the best, most physical offensive lineman in the game right now. And he can block guys like Aaron Donald one-on-one and do those things. So Quentin Nelson is a guy that will look the part. And I think if it goes down, he will act the part too.
Yeah, you know what? I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did. He was on my list. Peter, I'm surprised you didn't make some sort of a comment about somebody giving Marquise Pouncey an envelope in your comments earlier in the draft, but that's a different point altogether. Here's my last one, and I've gone back and forth with two or three of them, but to the extent that we set this up by playing Kyle Juszczyk and his somewhat passionate defense of his quarterback. I'm reminded of the most passionate and colorful defense that we saw and heard last year of a quarterback. And it was before Lamar Jackson truly landed on the MVP radar screen, although he eventually would have. The Mark Ingram pitch for Lamar Jackson. That thing's great. I just watch that from time to time just because it makes me smile and it makes me laugh. But the intensity of a Mark Ingram, and yeah, he's not the big imposing presence, but nobody's going to mess with you if Mark Ingram is around. He will intervene, and he will state your case, and he will state your case in a very compelling way when he has to. So I'll take Ravens running back Mark Ingram as my pick, the last pick in the draft. All right, who else is there? Who else did you have in the tank, Peter, that didn't make it onto the list?
You know, the guy who I really wanted to use, because you know what we should have done? We should have each been able to pick one historic figure. One guy throughout the course of NFL history that we would have liked. Okay, and I'm going to take Warren Sapp because he is, you know, in previous days and times, he is what, in my opinion right now, Richie Incognito is on the offensive side of the ball. You know, you don't want to mess with Warren Sapp. And I just always felt like when he was on the field, if he did anything, every one of the 10 guys on his team, whether they really felt like he was doing the right thing or not, they were going to be right behind him in the brawl.
Here's the thing, though. As the person who is the beneficiary of the services of the bodyguard, you always want to be 100% certain the bodyguard's not going to turn on you. With Warren Sapp, I wouldn't be 100% certain that he's not going to turn on me at some point. So I wouldn't want Warren Sapp, Chris.
I think he'd be loyal to you. In my experience, I think he would be. I do. So I won't say that. I don't think he'd turn on you. He might, you know, have a few colorful words for you as your bodyguard every now and then and tell you where you're stupid or wrong. But I think when it got down to it, he'd stick up for you. I'm going to go to one of my dad's old teammates. I got to pick Lawrence Taylor. I mean, come on. You guys have seen the NFL films. I mean, Lawrence Taylor's a psycho and then was a psycho on the field and also, you know, well-publicized psycho off the field. So I just don't feel like he'd ever be scared of any situation. And again, of course, with the athletic prowess and power and being one of the most explosive people we've ever seen in the history of the league, you know, I know I'm a little biased here, but LT would certainly be my bodyguard if you could pick an all-time great.
Yeah, you know, I think we mentioned him earlier this week. I just got a thing for Mike Ditka. I'd want Mike Ditka to have my back. Mike Ditka in his prime with the cigar, you know, because it's not just what the guy could do physically. 99.9% of the time, he's just there as a deterrent. I mean, how more intimidating can you be than Ditka with sunglasses and a big cigar, you know, and a jacket standing next to you? Nobody's going to mess with you. He's not going to have to do any bodyguarding if he's just there. It's that presence. And give me Mike Ditka in that regard. I thought about Cam Newton from that same.
I hear you.
Because Cam Newton is a giant. Cam Newton's never going to have to get his hands dirty if he's your bodyguard because nobody is going to mess with you when they see Superman standing to your side, guys.
I hear that. That's why I picked Trent Brown. Von Miller. Good one. Right. I'm disappointed you didn't pick me, Florio. I mean, every time we go to a look at that. I mean, I'm always carrying you. Look at that.
Yeah, you already are kind of. Hey, yeah, let me tell you. This was funny. A quick story, and then we got to take a break. After the Super Bowl, when the Chiefs won, and you remember all the stuff with the comments that I said about Patrick Mahomes and how they should defend him and how that all got twisted. My son was with me, and my son is very physically imposing, and he was damn sure nobody was going to say or do anything to his dad on the way out of Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. And it made me proud. But he was very intense, and he was looking everywhere. Is there going to be some Chiefs fan that comes up and tries to say something or take a shot? So I got to throw my son on there as well. And,
I like
that. He was wearing the Rob Lowe NFL Shield hat. Remember when Rob Lowe wore that at the NFC Championship game and everybody got a big kick out of it? He had that hat on, which made it even more imposing. So, all right, let's take a break. We got more PFT.
Bodyguard in San Francisco for Richard Sherman. He was looking for you. I was ready just in case.
Oh, really? I didn't know about that. You did? Yeah, that's true. On the field before the game.
Yeah,
That's
right.
I had my head on a swivel. God, I've wiped that out of my memory. That was everything that happened before the pandemic I've forgotten about. We got more PFT Live right after this.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.